Hey everyone, and welcome to another video, and today we're taking a look at some iPhone 14 Pro Max cases. So these have been sent to me by TAC, and what we have is 3 of their existing cases. So we have the standard case in Arctic White, we have the standard case 2.0 in Onyx Black, and then we have the standard case 2.0 in Ice Clear. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at what you actually get in the pack, and then we'll go through some of the features and the main selling point of these particular cases. As you can see, the packaging is pretty nice and simple. When you open it, you do get a little sleeve. Unboxing experience on all of them is pretty much the same. So once you take it out of this foil packed packaging, what you get is basically the world's thinnest case. So these cases aren't intended to actually have any type of drop protection. These are basically scratch protection and just giving you a minimal protection whilst also retaining the actual color of the iPhone through the actual case itself. Now, one thing you'll notice is that there is no Magsafe ring. We will come on to that in just a moment. So taking a look at the second case, this is the black Onyx Black case, and we can see that there. So this is a 2.0 case, and the difference between the 1.0 and the 2.0 is the fact that you have the actual cutouts for the camera module on this one, whereas on this one you just have the hole. All of the cutouts around the case are precision cutouts, so these should line up perfectly. Now, one thing you do also get in this particular one is the actual Magsafe ring as well, just there. And as you can see, this has been provided in white on this one, I believe. However, you can actually order this in black to match up with the black case as well. Once again, the only thing you get in there is a couple of little placards. And finally, we'll take a look at this is the standard case 2.0. Okay, so here we have the actual standard case, and this one, as you can see, it's a glossy finish as opposed to being a matte finish on both of these two. So there's the 3 cases that they've actually sent out. Now, they do actually do a carbon fiber or aramid fiber case as well. That's not available just yet, but they have advised that they will be sending a review unit of one of those to me to basically do a video on the channel as well. So on the clear version, you do actually have a little bit of protection. So if we peel that off, and the inside I don't think has anything. So right, first thing what we'll do is we'll just try a couple of these cases on. So we'll go with the clear 1.0 case first, and best way to fit it is literally just line up the top and then just press on all 4 corners. Now, this is actually a throwback to some very, very thin cases that I used to actually use on the very first generation of iPhones I actually purchased. So the 4, the 5, all of those boxier iPhones, these kind of cases work really well, because essentially what happens is your buttons end up completely flush on both sides. And then because obviously you have these squared off corners, you can actually have this wrap all the way around. So there you can see how it actually looks on the phone. Now, obviously with this one being the 1.0, you don't have any precision cutouts. This just gives you a bigger cutout. So in a way, this is actually better, because obviously you see more of the camera module, and you do get a little bit of the color coming through as well. Not a lot, but you can actually see the Apple logo just there. You get obviously more of the color showing through. You do also get it on the buttons and also on the bottom as well, with the precision cutouts for the actual speaker and microphone ports as well. Now, one question I did ask them was about the actual Magsafe performance, and what we can do is drop a Magsafe wallet on it there, and as you can see, it does grip. Now, performance through the actual case is never going to be as good as what it is when you actually have Magsafe magnets on the case itself. However, the way that you actually apply the Magsafe magnets on these particular cases is not on the inside, but rather on the outside. So obviously, because they are magnets, once you actually line it up, it will actually clip into place into where they're meant to go. So when you're actually applying this, all you would do is peel up the actual 3M tape on the back, take it near the actual phone as such, and it will grip on in the right position. I will obviously apply this and add in a little segment as to whether this actually gives you Magsafe charging or not. Obviously, there is a minimum thickness, a maximum thickness in terms of how far away from the actual charger it can be before you start to drop off voltage. And rather than the 15 watts of Magsafe, you basically start to get a reduced 7.5 watts, which then doesn't give you the full Magsafe charging. One thing I will say is that this particular ring of magnets isn't the thickest. so hopefully it should actually be fine. That is with the standard case 1.0. What we'll do now is we'll try the black first. That's how it looks with the black 2.0 case, the standard case 2.0 in black. Cutouts and everything, once again, as you can see, are pretty much perfect. Buttons in terms of the functionality, yeah, the mute switch is a little difficult to get to, but that's the same on quite a few different cases. Around the actual buttons itself, just around these side buttons, the cutouts are very, very good. And similar thing on the actual power button as well. It is actually very accurate as well. The one thing this does do is, obviously because these cases are so light, it does mean that you're basically using the case with a little bit of scratch protection. So that's one of the things that actually prevents me from using my phone all the time without a case whenever I'm just around the house or anything, is a lot of my pockets tend to have zippers on them, and some of those can actually scratch the anodized coating on the actual phones themselves. It won't necessarily cause any damage, but it's just those imperfections and the blemishes that they would end up causing. Whereas with something like this, you basically retain that functionality of having a really light and thin case essentially, which means that your phone isn't as bulky compared to something like a leather case or a silicone case, which tend to have to be slightly thicker in order to reinforce them. And finally, taking a look at the clear case 2.0. So as you can see, this one does have the full protection around the actual camera module itself, but because this one is more of a glossy finish, firstly it actually offers a lot more grip, so I can actually do that, which I wouldn't dare to do on the other two, because obviously the matte finish, it probably will show fingerprints eventually more, but for now if I just do that, you can see it kind of just blends away. So whatever material they're using on here is quite clever in the way that it actually hides the fingerprints despite being a glossy case. That's one of the downsides I find with glossy cases, is that they always tend to show more fingerprints. The glossy cases, if you suffer from dry skin, they're actually better because it'll grip your hand a little bit better. If you have really greasy hands or fingers, then the glossy cases aren't quite as good because it'll actually be more slippery. That's where a matte case will actually serve you a little bit better. Now, this is the case that I will probably be applying the actual Magsafe magnets to. So once again, as you can see, that is how it would look with the actual magnets installed. The way it actually works is obviously, once again, if you just peel up the backing and stick it on, it will actually stick on. But with this one, I want to actually try to see how it performs. So yeah, the grip on this particular case is slightly better. So this one does actually grip slightly better in terms of the actual Magsafe magnets, so that's not going to fall off. But obviously with something like this, if it's a Magsafe accessory, then you want to have the actual magnets on there as well, just to give you that extra grip. What I normally find is that whenever you're using a clear case like this, they actually work a lot better with my Magsafe charger rather than the genuine Apple leather case, which tends to be a little bit slipperier when it comes to Magsafe charging, and it's a little more difficult to actually line up the magnets themselves. So what we'll do is, as I do intend to use the actual ring itself, we'll peel this up and we'll see how easy or difficult it is to actually apply. Okay, so first thing to note is that that one's not torn the best. So there we go. That's now off, and what we should, yeah, you feel it straight away, grip, and there we go. So you actually, as soon as you take that protective film off, you do actually feel it grip and pull towards the actual case itself, and that feels like it's actually stuck on quite strong now. Alignment wise, in theory, it should be perfect. Whether or not that is wrapped around the actual Apple logo, I can't really tell. If anything, it looks slightly off to one side, but it's on now, it's gripped. And let's just do that same test now. And yeah, that I can instantly feel that that's a much stronger grip now. You can still pull it away, but it's definitely a lot stronger now. So that is the 2.0 standard case in ice clear. And if we just get all three of them together, that is how they actually look. As I say, this is missing the aramid fiber case, but I will have a review on that coming as soon as they can actually provide that. In terms of lay on the table design, you possibly have a tiny little bit, but if you've got a screen protector installed, then you won't actually notice it. That's the one thing that I do actually like about these kind of cases, which is that you don't have that extra bit of lip. I use a screen protector, so I don't necessarily need any additional lay on the table design. All it does is it stops your finger from actually flowing from the sides or the bottom of the phone when you're actually trying to swipe. So yeah, that was my first look at all of the TAC cases. First impressions is that the build quality and everything is very, very good on all of them. The precision cutouts is probably the best that I've seen on any of these kind of cases. You can get knockoffs and replicas of these for just a couple of quid from AliExpress. But generally what you tend to find is, firstly, they tend to have a weird kind of flex to them. And over time, the sides especially, they actually flex out. And the other thing that you normally notice is that the cutouts aren't exact. So whereas this one tends to have pretty much identical gap all the way around the entire circumference of the actual buttons themselves. With those ones, generally they'll be pulling to one side or the other, which means that when you're actually clicking the buttons, you don't have that tactile feedback because it's pushing against the case slightly. The other thing that I have noticed is just on the bottom of the actual case, even the actual speaker holes and the microphone holes, they're perfect. You couldn't get them any more accurate. The Magsafe ring on the back is a kind of strange choice, but that is how TAC actually advised is the correct way of actually installing this, and once this is stuck on, it's definitely not going anywhere. Some other YouTubers who've done reviews on these have also commented about how the ring on the back actually adds an additional little bit of grip, which I would probably go along with. It just gives you, it's similarly to when you actually have a wallet on the back of your phone. Even though it makes it bulkier, in some instances it can actually make it easier to grip, and as you can see now with this particular one, it's not falling off once you actually get it installed, and yeah, the magnets should be more than strong enough. So what I tend to do is use this as my daily case for a little while. I might actually switch between the black one for work and using this just socially around the house and everything. I'll give you feedback just via a update in the comments, or possibly a future update video if TAC do actually send out the Aramid case. In that particular video, I'll just give you a little update in terms of how they're actually holding up. Anybody that's looking for the thinnest possible cases for the 14 series, and this works for either the 14s or the 14 Pro series as well, so you can get them for either, but obviously in my instance it is the 14 Pro Max that I've actually applied it to, and this is the sort of proportions and how it looks, and it's probably the one case where you can actually use this long term to be able to see the color of the phone whilst not having to worry about cleaning it constantly because of fingerprints. The material type hopefully shouldn't yellow over time either. It's not totally clear, which means that it probably has got some UV inhibitors, and the other thing that I do like is that it doesn't have all the dots that you normally get on the cases that try and avoid the rainbowing. So yeah, it's a little bit more of a clear design. This should look good on any of the colors, to be perfectly honest, but on the purple is probably the one case where it is actually showing some of the color of the phone through, and then you obviously get it a little bit around the rings of the camera modules as well as on the buttons as well. So as always, links will be in the description below. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell for any future videos, and I'd really appreciate if you could give this video a thumbs up as well. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.